Welcome back, my students, to a brand new episode of Comic Class. In today's lesson, I'll be going over Rick Remender and West Red's Deadly Class, issue 52 of Fond Farewell, part 4. And yeah, this is the newest issue that is dropped of the Deadly Class series. We are about 4 issues away from the series ending, so that's kind of crazy that there's only 4 issues left. But yeah, this basically finishes off the first half of the final story arc, part 1 of A Fond Farewell, basically, and the part 2 trade paperback should be covering the next 4 issues, which will end off the entire story. And I have mixed feelings on this issue, so without further ado, let's jump right into today's story. Let's go. So this story basically starts off showing us Marcus's life, how it is so far. This basically takes place in the year 2006. So Marcus is about in his, I believe, 30s, maybe like mid 30s, almost 40s, and it's pretty interesting to say the least of what exactly the characters are going through. We get to see that he's actually living with Maria, and Marcus actually working as a writer for like a newspaper or something like that, and actually got fired from his job. And we get to see his interactions with Maria, and this is where it's revealed to us that Maria actually is developing a type of disease that kind of is crippling her, so it's kind of crazy. And throughout the months that this story takes place in, the disease just keeps getting worse and worse. And Marcus basically puts out the idea that maybe he should take a hit to basically pay for their medical bills so that Maria can get help, but she kind of refuses that. It says that she'll deal with being crippled rather than them going back into their old lifestyle, specifically Marcus going into that lifestyle again. So I thought that was really cool, and we basically get to just see their life throughout the issue and the stuff that they go through, and how Maria's basically disease is basically affecting her. Now, one thing that I was very mixed about in the issue was the very obvious political views that Rick Remender was putting into this issue. And throughout Deadly Class, he's been very good at keeping the political stances to like a standstill. And he never really leaned a lot left or a lot right, but in this issue, the way he paints Marcus and Maria's interactions with the world, and the fact that this takes place in 2006 when these issues that they're bringing up, such as them having to work for people like Maria basically works for a privileged family, basically, and they hardly pay her anything apparently, which is just crazy and very unheard of in the year like 2006. So it feels very politically motivated and doesn't have any stance in actual reality in America in that time period. And I feel like had Rick Remender touched upon this plot point in like maybe the 60s, 70s, it would have had more weight. But considering the story takes place in 2006, we had far past the time of people being discriminated like that in the sense of their payload and not being able to get medical care. That's something all Americans deal with. So I just felt very politically motivated, and it really took me out of the story. But so I was mixed on that. Another thing he kind of tackles in this issue is that we get to see Maria and Marcus basically watching TV, and we get to see that Brandy Lynn is actually running for president, or she's running for vice president. I'm guessing probably vice president or some type of mayor, governor, like we saw in a previous issue. We had saw Brandy went to Versailles, and Marcus were talking with each other a few issues back. We got to see Brandy, I think, on the TV as well, or on billboards, basically running for governor or something like that, or mayor. So maybe she's trying to go higher up, but we get to see an attack on Christianity by Rick Remender in this issue, with him painting Brandy Lynn as a type of person that's kind of advocating to those Christian people. And as a Christian myself, I thought the way that Rick Remender kind of like put the stuff what Marcus was saying about Christians doing some of the worst things, the Christians that he knew being some of the worst people he knew, seemed very, again, very like politically motivated. The reality is the majority of Christians are very nice people, and if this was done to any type of group of people in a type of political commentary, he would probably get canceled. But the fact that he's using Christians and those people aren't gonna, fight back in that or get super angry and try to like cancel him. And that seems the reason why he went after them, and it feels very weak. It feels politically motivated, and it's very left leaning. I'm not saying you can't be a Christian and be left, but we do see a lot of people in the real world when it comes to America, especially, who are left leaning that kind of believe that Christians aren't that great, and even try to paint them in a bad light, despite most Christians being peace loving people that never really commit any of the crazy stuff you see from maybe other religions or even people that aren't religious. So this again is something that really took me out of this issue, and it's something we never really had saw in Deadly Class before this issue. We had characters like Zinzelli, who was a Christian, and there were moments where they questioned her faith, but it was never in a way to where they painted her as being wrong for being a Christian. And here, it's kind of like, it almost felt like he was painting Christianity in a bad light, or saying most Christians are bad, or try to fake being a good person and being hypocrites and stuff like that, which is just not true for the majority of Christians, or at least, in what we see most of the time in America. Most people aren't going to be doing messed up stuff, and it just really took me out. And basically, Maria turns off the TV and says that she doesn't want to hear any more of it. Or I think it's Marcus who does that, and then Maria tries to turn it back on, but her hand basically messes up because the crippled sickness that she's getting that's crippling her. But going off of that, from that point on, the story took off and it became more enjoyable. And I think the reason for that is that the whole rest of the comic from that point on, which I would call the second half of the issue, is basically has nothing to do with Rick Remender's politics, but instead he goes back to just writing a good story, and that's what he excels at when he doesn't jump into that stuff. So we get to see Marcus basically writing in a journal to his future children, with Maria, I'm guessing, unless Rick Remender's going to throw a curveball and get a Messiah in the future. But we get to see them basically going on all these different trips and dates, and eventually we get to see that Marcus grabs inside of his bag when they're basically chilling out at some vacation house or something on a beach. And we just see that Maria is basically taking a bath whenever Marcus goes into the bathroom, surprises her with a proposal ring, basically, and asks her to marry him. And she basically is surprised and starts crying over, Marcus's proposal, but says that she doesn't know if he should do this because she's going to be a crippled person. It's going to be a lot of work to be with her and take care of her and stuff like that. But Marcus basically says he doesn't want it any other way, and he basically asks Maria to marry him, and they decide to get married, and she accepts his marriage proposal, and they end up basically kissing, embracing, and probably making love afterwards. We get to see that Marcus basically takes her to Las Vegas, which is where him, Billy, and the rest of the gang, Saya and them, went in the first volume of Deadly Class. That was a nice callback, and we get to see that Marcus and Maria remember that time and also acknowledge how much Las Vegas has changed since, I think, the story took place in the 1980s when the series first started. So a lot has changed since then. And Marcus even gets to see some of the hallucinations, like the clown hallucination he saw in the first volume. So that's pretty interesting. And we get to see that Marcus takes her to a church, and when he tells her that there's a surprise inside that is really going to surprise her, we get revealed to Zinzelli, Guan, and Helmet basically as adults with Marcus and Maria. They basically are here to witness. Helmet says that Marcus said that they needed a few witnesses, so they came together to witness the marriage of Marcus and Maria. So they basically get married, and we get to see the group of friends basically just enjoy the celebration of Marcus and Maria getting married. And this whole scene basically ends with Marcus and Maria going to a bedroom and possibly, I'm guessing, gonna be teasing Maria basically getting pregnant with Marcus's child, but we'll see. And yeah, so the issue ends with Stefan being revealed, and we get to see that Stefan basically is talking, I think, to his boyfriend or husband or whatever. So he basically moved on as he got older, and we get to see him working on the computer and that. And once his other person, boyfriend or husband, whatever he is, goes to get them a drink or something, um, Stefan basically goes and looks inside of a scrapbook and he sees a lot of his old friends as well as a picture of Kindle. And this makes him sad, but he basically calls out to his other, who's named John, and he basically goes into the kitchen and he sees that John has actually been murdered. And this is where a guy basically sneaks up on him and murders him as well in cold blood too. So now Stephen or Stefan and John are both dead, and we get to see the silhouette of our person basically who killed both of them. And he goes to the computer that Stephen was working on, and we get to see a picture of Maria, Marcus, and their friends, Helmut, and Zelly, and Guan, basically hanging out in that, which is what we saw on the other page, the scene of them all hanging out. And it shows them basically just looking at it on the laptop and heading out, basically, I guess, to go find them and possibly kill them. And it says to be continued, and that's how the issue ends. And yeah, that was Rick Remender and Wes Craig's Deadly Class, issue 52, A Fond Farewell, part 4. This was pretty interesting. Like I said, I had mixed feelings on the issue. I don't think it was the best issue. A lot of the politics that Rick Remender put in there, like I said, some of it felt weak, some of it felt forced, some of it felt like he only did it because he knows he can get away with it, whereas if he would have made fun of something else other than Christians, he would get massive backlash. So stuff like that I don't respect. As a Christian myself, I just don't respect those things. But other than those things, everything else in the issue was very well done. And the way the issue ended off, it really ended off with a bang, with the marriage of Maria and Marcus basically getting together finally at the very end of this series, as well as teasing a villain that just killed Stephen or Stefan and John, his other, I'm not sure if he was boyfriend or husband, but they're both dead, and it looks like whoever this mysterious person is probably gonna go after Marcus and Maria and their friends. So it's gonna be cool, and hopefully this has a huge climax to end off the entire series. Rick Remender confirmed that there's only 4 more issues left of the story left to tell. So we're almost to the end, and it's gonna be crazy to say goodbye to the series, but looks like it's gonna wrap up really nice. So hopefully Rick Remender in the last 4 issues just keep the politics out of it and just tells a great story like he has been doing this entire time. And yeah, so even though this one I feel like was iffy, I have hope that Rick Remender isn't gonna like just put tons of politics in the final 4 and ruin his ending, because he really will ruin it, at least for people like me that feel like the politics just don't need to be in it. But that's gonna be all, guys. Be sure to subscribe if you're a fan of Deadly Class. I'm doing tier list videos regarding Deadly Class. I will probably make a discussion video talking about who I think is the mysterious dude at the end of the comic, the mysterious figure that we saw. Because I do have a theory of who I think it might be. And yeah, I haven't been spoiled on any comic covers other than the next one, which I think I saw before a few months ago, and they show it at the end of this comic as well, teasing the next issue, but it doesn't show the person that was at the final page. So we'll have to see on who that is, and I will probably make a video talking about that. So if you're into Deadly Class, check out my playlist covering the entire Deadly Class series, all the volumes up to this point, and issues that we've talked about so far in this newest story arc, the final story arc of the story, and check out the tier list videos that are going to be coming out, as well as discussion videos that we might be putting out as well. But until next video, guys, God bless you. Until next lesson, keep on reading those comments.